Hello friends, in this class I will start the discussion about the medieval Indian history from the book of Satish Chandra. So I will be covering the second chapter. Let's get started. After the decline of Harsha Empire in the 7th century, a number of large states arose in North India, the Deccan and the South India. Unlike the Gupta and Harsha's empire in North India, none of the other kingdoms in North India were able to bring the entire Ganga Valley under its control. The Ganga Valley, with its population and other resources, was the basis on which the Gupta rulers and the Harsha had been able to extend their control over Gujarat, which with its rich seaports and manufacturers was important for overseas trade. Malwa and Rajasthan were the essential link between the Ganga Valley and Gujarat. This defined the geographical limit of an empire in North India. In South India, the Cholas were able to bring the Krishna, Godavari, and Kaveri deltas under their control. There was a basis of their supremacy in South India. Large states arose in North India and Deccan between 750 AD and 1000. These were the Pala Empire, which dominated the eastern India till the middle of the 19th century, and the Pratihara Empire, which dominated the western India and upper Ganga valleys till the middle of the 10th century, and Rashtrakuta Empire, which dominated the Deccan and also controlled territories in North and South India at various times. Each of these empires, although they fought among themselves, provide stable conditions of life for large areas, extended agriculture, built ponds and canals, and gave patronage to arts and letters, including temples. Of the three, the Rashtrakuta Empire lasted the longest. It was not only the most powerful empire of the ninth, but also acted as a bridge between North and South India. So basically, after Harsha and Gupta Empire's decline, the three main important empire which came to existence are Pala, Pratihara, and Rashtrakutas. And Pala Empire ruled toward the eastern India in 19th century, and Pratihara Empire in Western India and the Upper Gangetic Valley till 19th century, and Rashtrakuta Empire dominated the Deccan and controlled the territories in north and also in south. And among these three empires, it was Rashtrakuta Empire which lasted the longest. And they also bridged the gap between North and South India. So Rashtrakutas are ruled in Deccan and also some of the territories in North and South. So they basically controlled or a connecting link between North and South. The struggle for domination in North India, the Palas. The period following the death of Harsha was a period of political confusion. For some time, Lalitaditya, the ruler of Kashmir, brought the Punjab under his control and even controlled Kannauj, which since the days of Harsha was considered the symbol of the severity of North India, a position which Delhi was to acquire later. Control Control of Kannauj also implied control of Upper Gangetic. Control of Kannauj also implied control of Upper Gangetic Valley and its rich resources in trade and agriculture. Lalitaditya even invaded the Bengal or Gaud and killed its reigning king, but his power waned with the rise of the Palas and Gurjara Pratiharas. The Palas and Pratiharas clashed with each other for the control of the area extending from Banaras to South Bihar, which again had rich resources and well developed imperial traditions. The Pratiharas also clashed with Rashtrakutas of Deccan. The Pala Empire was founded by Gopala probably in 750 AD. So, Pala Empire was founded by Gopala. He was elected king by the notable men of the area to end the anarchy prevailing there. Gopala was Gopala was not born in a high, much less a royal family, his father probably being a soldier. So Gopala was not born in any high family, his father was just a probable soldier. He unified Bengal under his control and even brought Magadha, which is today's Bihar, under his control. Gopala was succeeded in 770 by his son Dharmapala, who ruled till 1810 AD. His region was marked by tripartite struggle between the Palas, Pratiharas, and Rashtrakutas for the control of Kannauj and North India. The Pratihara ruler advanced upon Gaud. Gaud is today's Bengal, but before a decision could be taken, the Pratihara ruler was defeated by the Rashtrakuta ruler Dhruva, and was forced to seek refuge in desert of Rajasthan. Dhruva then returned to the Deccan. This, this left the field free for Dharmapala, who occupied Kannauj and held a grand darbar which was attended by vassal ruler from Punjab, eastern Rajasthan, etc. We are told that the ruler of Dharmapala extended up to the furthest limit of India in the northwest and perhaps included Malwa and Berar. Apparently, this implied that the rulers of these areas accepted suzerainty of Dharmapala. The triumphal career of Dharmapala may be placed between 790 AD and 800 AD. The Dharmapala could not, however, consider his power in North India. Dharmapala could not, however, consolidate his power in North India. The Pratihara power revived under Nagabhatta. So Pratihara's power was revived under Nagabhatta too. Dharmapala fell back but was defeated near Mongri. So basically, Lalita Aditya was a ruler of Kashmir who actually acquired Punjab and also controlled the Kannauj. Kannauj is considered as a symbol of sovereignty of North India in the time of Harsha, and the position of Delhi also influenced by the Kannauj. Kannauj implied a control of upper Gangetic Valley. So there was always fight between Pratiharas and Palas, and also in Deccan, Pratiharas and Rashtrakutas fight. The Pala Empire was founded by Gopala, and Gopala was succeeded by his son Dharmapala. So Dharmapala is one of the greatest ruler. He brought many regions under his controls, and he also defeated Pratihara rulers, and Pratihara ruler was also defeated by Rashtrakuta ruler Dhruva, and later was forced to seek refuge in desert of Rajasthan. So Dharmapala who occupied Kashmir held a grand darbar in which the vassal rulers from Punjab, eastern Rajasthan, etc. were attended, and Dharmapala could not, however, consolidated his power in North India. Pratiharas were defeated by Rashtrakutas and also by Dharmapala, and later their power revived under Nagabhatta too, and Dharmapala later defeated near Mongir. Bihar and modern East Uttar Pradesh remained the bone of contention between the Palas and Pratihara. So Bihar and east of Uttar Pradesh. Bihar and east of Uttar Pradesh was remained a bone of contention between Palas and Pratiharas. However, Bihar, in addition to Bengal, remained under the control of Palas for the most of the time. Failure in north compelled the Pala rulers to turn their energies in other directions. Devapala, the son of Dharmapala, who succeeded the throne in 1810 AD and ruled for 40 years, extended his control over Prayag Jyotishpur, which is today's Assam and part of Orissa, probably a part of modern Nepal, was bought under Pala suzerainty. Thus, for about 100 years from the middle of the 8th to the middle of 9th century, Pala rulers dominated eastern India. For some time, their control extended up to Varanasi. For some time, their control extended Varanasi. Their power is attested to by an Arab merchant, Suleiman, who visited India in the middle of 9th century and wrote an account of it. So, it was Arab merchant Suleiman wrote an account of Pala's rulers. He calls the Pala kingdom Ruhma or Dharma, short for Dharmapala. So, Arab merchant Suleiman called the Pala kingdom Ruhma or Dharma and said that the Pala ruler was at war with his neighbors, the Pratiharas and Rashtrakutas, but his troops were more numerous than his adversaries. He tells us that it was customary for Pala king to be accompanied by the force of 50,000 elephants, and 10,000 to 15,000 men in his army were employed in fulfilling and washing clothes. Even if these figures may be exaggerated, we can assume that Palas had a large military forces at their disposal, but we do not know whether they had a large standing army or whether their forces consisted largely of feudal levies. Information about the Pala is also provided to us by Tibetan chronicles, although these were written in the 17th century. According to these, the Pala rulers were the great patrons of Buddhist learning and religion. The Nalanda University, which had been famous all over the eastern world, was revived by Dharmapala, and 200 villages were set apart for meeting its expenses. So Nalanda University, one of the famous university of eastern world, was revived by Dharmapala, the ruler and the son of Gopala, ruler of Pala. He also founded the Vikramashila University, which became second only to Nalanda in fame. So who founded the Vikramashila University? It was Dharmapala, the ruler of Pala kingdom. It was located on the top of a hill on the banks of Ganga in Magadha. So where does Vikramashila University was located? On the banks of Ganga in Magadha. Amidst the pleasant surroundings, the Pala built many viharas in which a large number of Buddhist monks. From Tibetan chronicles, it was founded that Palas were the great patrons of Buddhist learning and religion. Nalanda University was revived by Dharmapala, and he also built the Vikramashila University on the banks of Ganga in Magadha. And who is Dharmapala's son?